Hey guys, welcome to Enku Africa. My name is Esther Mbabie and I'm going to be handling today's teaching. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about productivity, and the key points I'm going to be looking at, or I'm going to be teaching on, are what does it mean to be productive? Is God concerned about me being productive? How can I be productive? And what benefits do I get from being a productive person? So before we go ahead, if you see me looking this way, I have my laptop here. If you see me looking down, I have my Bible here. Okay, so of course, before we can understand anything, we need to first of all have a definition of what the word means. So yes, the dictionary meaning says working hard and getting good results. And my personal favorite, it says continuing to be used in the production of new things. I don't want to go too much into explaining what I think this means, because we'll get into it once we start talking about how can I be productive. But when you say that we want to continue in something, it means there is consistency, meaning that productivity comes when you tarry in the place of work, when you tarry in the place of effort. But let me not get far ahead of myself. Okay, so but what does the Bible say about productivity? So Proverbs 6, 10 to 11 talks about how a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man. Then it also goes on to talk in Matthew 25 verse 14 to 30. Yes, that one particularly talks about the parable of the bag of gold. We know about that. It talks about the bag of gold and how the master came and said, oh, you take this, you take this, you take this. Gave them responsibilities. Let me say money. Literally speaking, he gave them money and said, oh, I'm going to a faraway place. He went, he came back and saw what they had done with the work that he had assigned to them, with the money that he had assigned to them. So what does the Bible say about productivity? But all in all, as we move ahead, all this is going to show that God is just as concerned about you as he is about you being productive. Okay, so how can I be productive? Number one is to know what God would have you do per time and per season. Meaning that, first of all, I think a key contributor in being productive is to first of all know if God even wants you to be doing what you are doing. You need to first of all know if God wants you to be in that field that you are hoping to be productive. Then you can talk about productivity, because even the Bible talks about, even if Paul plants and Apollos waters, only God gives the increase, meaning that God needs to first of all have been involved in the plants for you to have increase, right? You preach the gospel. Yes, that's one of the trickiest. Before you preach the gospel, I remember having this experience once with a friend of mine. We were pretty close, but she wasn't exactly saved, and so I was struggling with knowing how to talk to her about the gospel, because we had already come a long way. Somehow I didn't tell her about the gospel at the beginning, and time had gone, and so it was taking a while, and I didn't know how to go about it, because it's not that she didn't know about Jesus, but she didn't have him, in quote. Yes, so I was worried about how to talk, how to not talk, and in the process of that, I think I had a conversation with somebody who then explained to me and made me see reason that sometimes you need to just do the planting. Somebody else is coming to water, but if you jump the gun and do not wait for the person to actually watch your life, learn from your life, such that when somebody else comes to preach the gospel to them, they are like, yes, I am so sure that this is Jesus because I used to know somebody that. Do you get? So many times our responsibilities may be to plant, our responsibilities may be to water, our responsibilities may be to, there are just different aspects that God could have called us into that we're not seeing. So if you are not working in line of the purpose or in line of the instructions or responsibility that God has given out to you, you most likely will not see productivity the way you want to see it. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 to 13 talks about seasons and time. I particularly like the verse 1. It says there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, which means that if it is not the time for a thing, most likely not come through the way you want it to come through. So we should always be concerned and always be cautious about the fact that we need to ask God what he will have us do per time, per season, per responsibility, per situation, per circumstance. That way you can know the next step to take. You can know why things are not going the way it should be going. You can go back to God and say, oh, you handed this over to me, it's not going well, what should I do? Bottom line, things will only work out when it is what God has appointed. Okay, so to the next, organization. First Corinthians 14 verse 33. It says, "For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all the congregations of the Lord's people." Make a strategic plan. It's very key that we always have a plan. Make a strategic plan of action. Set alarms and reminders when you need to. Don't make it a habit of winging things, right? Don't make it a habit of, when I go there, I'll see what happens. If you want to be productive in something that you have put your hands to, you need to always make strategic plans. You need to plan ahead of time. Okay, it's not enough to say, God has given me this, so it will work out. I don't need to stress. I don't need to bother about it. Because when God gives you a responsibility, He gives you the grace. And He gives you the know-how to know what to do, what next to do to make things move forward. So you need to make a strategic plan of action. In Nigeria, we say, "I go rough am." Don't make it a habit of roughing things up and going to see how it will work out and leaving it up to fate, right? Because we are Christians, we walk by faith, and we do not serve a God who is a God of disorganization or unstructured plans. You see that even in our day-to-day life, you watch God's plan work out with such structure, with such organization. So God is not a God of haphazardness. He's not a God of halfway through. He's a God of well thought out plans. So write down your plans as they come. When they're in your head, they may feel like there are a gazillion things to do. You have a gazillion things to do, but then you write them down and realize that they're just 5, they're just 10. But when you have them in your head, you're getting worked up, you're anxious, you're nervous. How will I complete all these things? I have so many things to do. But then the moment you write it down, you realize that you don't even have as many things as you thought you did. So organization is key in wanting to be productive, because when you have things together, you can plan them step by step. When you have things haphazardly, you pick them and you're not picking according to priority, you're just picking according to the one you can think of at that time. Maybe I can add a screenshot to be attached to the video, because my alarm stash on my phone has so many labels. You will see things like call praise for graphics, meeting with the directors, call program guests, just all those things, so that you are always alert. Yeah, you know what next to do. Because while some people may think that, I'm not saying that you should meticulously plan every second. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when you have things to do, plan them and make sure you don't forget. For example, if you are expected to be at a meeting by 12 on a day when your schedule is relatively tight, and you know you will most likely forget, set an alarm by 10 o'clock that reminds you that you have a meeting by 12, so you can start getting ready. Or set an alarm by 9:30 if you know you stay in a place where traffic is a lot. Set an alarm that reminds you. So yes, be conscious about things. I mean, technology has made life easier for us now, so you can just use technology to your own advantage and make sure that you are staying productive and organized. And that brings us to my next point, which is to keep the right circle. There are so many responsibilities in our hands that God has placed there, and too many times I feel like we don't see it because of the people that we have surrounded ourselves with. If every time you set a plan, maybe you plan today, I will send 5 applications out, I will reach out to 2 people that I witnessed to last week, I will check up on this person, check up on that person. Every time you make plans like that, your friends come around and they're in town, and you guys are just caught up with talking and gisting and gossiping and whatever. Painful truth is that you may need to start watching your circle. If that is what you always find yourself, if that's the kind of situation you always find yourself in every time, you need to start watching your circle. Because it's the painful truth, but it's the truth. You need to start watching your circle, because here's the thing I like to say: conversations and companies are a big part of our stories, right? So it's okay to play and joke around with your friends, but if when you need to be productive and alert and up and going, this circle will hinder that from happening, then you must watch it. Now, for the other side of the coin, I know that in trying to be productive, doing all these things, trying to make sure that you're getting progress, you may miss out on, you may lose touch with people, and this is where organization comes in, right? So include your reminders that you need to check up on a friend, you need to call a friend. As much as you're trying to keep the right circle, make sure that they are not keeping you from being productive. You also need them, and they need you, right? You need them to stay on track. You need them for accountability. You need them to sustain yourself, because even fellowshipping is part of our responsibilities as Christians, right? So don't make it a thing of I can't keep up with people, I'm caught up, I'm occupied, make sure that as much as you're keeping the right circle, you are keeping up with these people in the right circle. The next one says one step at a time. I particularly, like I said, like what Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, because it talks about how everything is a step at a time. In fact, Ecclesiastes 3 altogether talks about it. There is a time to be born, there is a time to plant, there is a time to uproot, there is a time to die, there is a time to kill, there is a time to heal. One step at a time. You cannot possibly, it says born and die, plant and uproot, kill and heal. It doesn't say die and then be born, uproot and then plant. So there is a progress, there is a time, there is a protocol. Yes, let me use the word protocol. There is a time, there is a step-by-step way that things will work out, right? So one step at a time. I think that so many times we are caught up trying to do a lot, be productive, achieve a lot. Like the dictionary definition says, continue to do new things, achieve greater things, that we lose out on little things that are actually big things. You may be aware that there is a lot to do. So instead of taking a break, you now stand in front of the mirror, remind yourself and say to whom much is given, much is expected. You say it over and over and over, convince your body that it doesn't need to rest, so you keep going and going and going. Maybe you even quote Proverbs 6:10-11 and tell yourself, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief and scarcity like an armed man. So you use that to scare yourself and keep going and going and going, and you don't take a moment to breathe and relax. You will get tired. That's a fact. So I think that one thing that I have learned, and I think it's very important that we keep in mind in being productive, is that you need to pause sometimes. You need to take a minute and pause and rejuvenate and get ready for the journey ahead. Because it's actually a never-ending journey. In everything you put your hands to, in every responsibility that God places in your hand, you need to be productive with it. So if you're not trying to gather enough energy for the next responsibility, you will just collapse, or you will burn out and your energy will die out and you won't have enough for the next race. And it's not enough to say that God has given me this, God has given me this responsibility, that responsibility, so he has given me enough energy and he has given me, I won't be tired. Jesus Christ rested on the seventh day, because it's very necessary that we rest. That's why I'm trying to emphasize on this. Just rest, relax, and get ready for the next step. It also gives you time to plan out, so that you're not weary and you're not weak for the next step. Consistency. When I started, I didn't want to get far ahead of myself. From the definition, the dictionary definition that talks about how you continue. It says productivity is continuing in doing work that will yield good results, right? Consistency. The truth is that setbacks will definitely come, and that's a fact. While I was preparing for this teaching, I was reading up something on how sometimes we don't prepare for it. We're like, setbacks, no. But setbacks will definitely come. And I can imagine the children of Israel had their share. They had their share before they made it through to the promised land. Esther had her share with people planning this and that against her people. Job had his as well, and we all know that Job's share was plenty. So yes, setbacks will definitely come. You could be putting in some massive effort, money, time, energy, and you're not seeing results. You're wondering, I watched a teaching on productivity. I followed all the rules. What went wrong? Or you say, this is something God gave me. I asked God if this is what he would have me do. He said yes. So why are there setbacks? But the fact is that just like every other aspect of our lives where we face tribulations, setbacks will come in responsibilities like this, where you are expecting yourself to be productive. Setbacks will definitely come. But I think the most important part is that we keep staying the course. We stay on the path. We stay as honest, righteous, and diligent as we were at the beginning when we started the journey. I think this is like a key part I need to pause and talk about. Too many times, I know that I've been there, is you start out on the path and this is what you want to achieve. So a few months or years down the line, you are still on that path, you are putting in the hard work, and you are not getting as much returns or as much results as you expected to get. So you now begin to think if you can make a compromise somewhere that will not exactly away from the side of the Lord, but still, I feel like too many times we forget that in building a career, in building a name for ourselves, in trying to be productive, we are still Christians. I feel like too many times we keep that part away from our lives. It's more like, I'm a Christian, but like this is where the money comes from. This is where this comes from. I need to get this. I mean, I love God, but I feel like we need to always remember that it is together. It's a body. You are first of all a Christian before you are a doctor or an engineer or whatever career you choose to take. And as much as you may not want to accept that fact, it is a fact, right? So once you are saved, the embodiment of all that you do stems from that salvation. So I think it's necessary that we keep in mind that we have to be consistent. Consistency means that the same energy you started with, just keep pushing, keep praying and keep pushing with that same energy, with that same honesty, with that same effort, with that same righteousness, and with that same diligence that you started with. Then you keep staying the path with that same tenacity that you started with. No compromise for the world, and the day of reward will definitely come through. Psalm 37 verse 7 here talks about, it says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Do not fret when people succeed in their ways, when they carry out their wicked schemes." Just relax. That's what I'm taking away from that part. It says relax, be still in the Lord, meaning that if you have pulled yourself out of God in the process of trying to be productive, trying to chase a career, trying to build a name, trying to build this, trying to build that, you will probably begin to fret. So you can only find the rest that comes from all of this in God. I think everybody will probably have their own story, their own story of patience, what patience has, how they have learned patience by force, and I feel like so many times we forget the journey that God is taking us through. We forget that you can't skip a step. Like I said, one step at a time. You can't skip a step to get to the end. You have to go step by step and step by step. And he says, do not fret when people succeed in their ways. Like, don't put yourself side by side with people and say, oh, so I submitted this application with that person, or I started this business at the same time that person started it, or I did this, I did that when that person started, but why is that person succeeding now and I am not? And you know, the funny thing is that sometimes we want to hide behind I'm a Christian, I don't have such thoughts. But I'm not sure we can fully say that we've never had such thoughts before. It will come. You will feel like, I started this with this person. How? We did things the same way. I feel like I even put this person through sometimes when his business or her business was not moving fast. Why is why is my case different? But too many times we forget that God is taking us on different journeys. My journey is different from your journey. His journey is different from her journey. And until we come to an understanding and accept that we're all on different journeys, then we can accept our successes and understand that we will all succeed at different times. We all have breakthroughs in our businesses at different times. What benefits do I get from being productive? The two benefits, which they are pretty much the same, but I'll say them in different ways, is that in being productive, we help others be productive as well. Because people look at you and learn. So in being productive, you are teaching others to be productive as well. So in being productive, we show forth the glory of God. Because truthfully, the Bible says, let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and praise your Father in heaven. So if you are doing things right, wherever you are, people know that this person comes here, leaves an impact that is amazing, does her job or does his job amazingly well. And then people always know that wherever you are, you do things right, you do things well. You don't leave any stone unturned, but at the same time, you do things in light of the word of God, not the world, right? So if you are known for that, you are already letting your light shine. Unconsciously, your light is shining. You are not even aware, but your light is shining. And then the world will praise your Father in heaven. So that way, you are already bringing the gospel to people, even without realizing it. As a Christian, you need to try and be productive. I feel like in very little things, you start learning how to be productive. And getting up and doing your household chores, getting up and accomplishing this, accomplishing that, you're learning to be productive. And one thing I didn't get to mention because I am so guilty of is time. In being productive, we always have to be conscious of time because time is important. It doesn't wait at all, so it's very important that we try and be productive with our time. You know, like that's part of why I said we need to have alarms and reminders just to make sure that you're not wasting time, unnecessarily. So yes, in conclusion, there's a question people often ask: should I be busy? Should I be productive? I would say choose to be productive and not just busy. be occupied with one thing that is directive and progressive instead of being caught up with so many things without a sense of direction. If you choose just one thing and say, this is what I am going for, of all the things that I have to do, I will face this, I will get it done. Such progress, and you get it done, and that's it. It's better than doing so many things and there's just really nothing to show for it, right? At the same time, that does not mean you take away the place of patience in watching things play out, but that's part of why I said to always ask God what He wants you to do, but choose to be productive and not just busy. So I made the habit of saying that instead of I have been busy, I have been occupied with things, or I have been productive. If you say I've been productive, it's more or less like a show off. So I've been occupied with a lot of things, but as opposed to saying I've been busy, have I accomplished anything? So yes, let's try our best and be productive. Choose to be productive over being just busy. And I pray that God will use these words to minister to our hearts. We'll take these things away and become better people, experience better productivity in Jesus' name. Thank you so much for joining me.